Welcome to Dungeoneering Done Dirt Cheap, where I am playing the Gunderholfen megadungeon using the BECME D&D rules from the 1980s and 90s. And it is another sunset session where I slowly bake myself in my game room. As the sun sets, and I have no way to avoid it, drawing the shade only makes this look crazier. It scatters shadows across my sheets. I have recently realized that the Fiend Folio needs to be a constant companion in this game. You wouldn't know it, but I've been leaving it on the shelf and then stopping the video to get up and retrieve that. But recent events and a constant stream of Fiend Folio monsters, which has been really cool, have convinced me just to put it on the desk when I start. When last we left, wow, it's been a real series of cliffhangers here. We had ventured to the third level of Gunderholfen. We had found these stairs. They were through the room with the Vilstrox, where Faqual was killed and we received grievous injuries. We were able to explore this part of the level, but we ran into some blindheims, which are these humanoidish frogs with searchlight eyes that blind us. And the entire party was blinded except for Talira and Zenith, our archers, and Frank, our clay golem. So with some clever moves, if I do say so myself, Grebe was able to order Frank to grab Balad and pull him out of this room with this fountain where the blindheims had attacked us. It was dark right there. Talira, Virago, Blaine, Lorque, we were conscious and able to sort of communicate instructions to one another. Although Virago and Lorque were knocked to 0 hit points, Blaine was able to administer Cure Light Wounds to Virago. Someone else administered a healing potion to Lorque. They all came up to consciousness again and just shoved, the ones that could see, shoved the others out into this hallway, this north-south facing hallway that's wide. It's about 20 feet wide and it has several rooms off of it. We had come over here from the west into this hallway, but we went into this room to the east and found a weird little plinth with these sculptures of dwarves with their hands outstretched as though they were lifting something up. When the dwarf in our party, Grebe, stood on top of this, her blindness was cured and she was restored. As the other characters tried their hand at that, no one was successful, and we were blinded for 160 minutes. So although they don't know how long this blindness will last, they have holed up in this room, bracing the door, wondering what would happen. The blindheims did not initially chase them, but we're going to see how that goes. They had also previously seen and heard ogres in a couple of rooms over here. That was why they did not run west when they exited the blindheim room, but they're in here as the clock ticks. They are thinking they need to move. They need to move south to these double doors. It seems like a pretty easy way to go. And though they'll be curious about this open room that they have not yet explored, they're fairly certain if they run directly south, they can escape. So we find the party in that room. This is room 34 of level 3 with the pedestal. The blindness not restored to the others who stood on the pedestal, sat on the pedestal. There's a general panic beginning to set in. They've probably spent only a couple of minutes here. I had rolled one initial reaction roll for the blindheims. We also know that moving through these double doors created a lot of noise, probably heard by the ogres in there. And the ogres are definitely aware of our presence. One of them we saw face to face. The others, I believe, chased us out, but we had exited that hallway in time. I think so. Yeah, we made so much noise going in this door that we were sure they must have come out to inspect us, but they did not pursue us. Talira, Zenith, Grebe, they are conferring. How do we get the others out of here? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 blind party members. We have Frank. There's obviously an understanding that Talira and Virago are sort of the heart of the party, and Talira wants to make sure Virago is safe. But it is hard in this moment with everyone blinded to say that Virago is a priority over anyone else. Grebe says, I can handle Balad. So what's causing their angst right now is, do they draw a melee weapon just so they have something at the ready in case something attacks them on the way down this hallway? Or do they go unarmed? Or do they somehow try to get everyone to just sort of follow the walls down south so that they can have their bows and arrows drawn? That's my preferred method. That's why I'm concerned here, because I wish Talira and Zenith could take the front and rear of the party with their bows drawn and just have the party crawl along this wall, but we know that's going to be slower. It is approximately about 130 feet to these double doors, so it's a little bit more than like a quick traveling round. But it's not so long that they can't do it in a round or two. Time is of the essence. Grebe is saying, Talira, we've got to make a decision and go. Talira draws out that dagger +1 and says, I'll guide Virago. Grebe pulls out her sword +1 and says, I'll guide Balad. Zenith, if you... Does Zenith guide one person? Do we double up? Here's what I'm wondering now. Zenith, you take your bow. Frank, Grebe communicates this in Dwarvish because the clay golem only understands simple commands in Dwarvish. So Grebe tells Frank to follow them and guide these two, and puts Frank's hands on both Lorkay and Blaine. So in other words, Talira's got one hand on Virago and the +1 dagger in another hand. Grebe has her +1 sword in one hand and her other hand on Balad, and Zenith can have her bow drawn just in case they get ambushed. So I don't know a better way to do this other than to roll reactions, or at least I've given it some thought, and that's kind of what I came up with, is that there's going to be a reaction from the Blindheims, and then as they clatter down this hallway and make some noise, probably, there are going to be reactions, probably with a plus, I think I'll roll a d4 and see what that's like, or I'll roll the dice of fate. We sort of peer out into the hallway. We know we just have to go all at once. We open the door as quietly as we can with those with melee weapons. Talira and Grebe are guarding Zenith, and then Zenith bursts out into the hall with her bow and arrow drawn. The Blindheims have still not emerged from that room. They are right now cautious. That D4 was to see how much I could add to their reaction roll just because nothing's happened for a couple of rounds. So we're able to step out and start pushing down. I think it's going to take us 3 rounds to get to the end of the hall. And if we do it this way and we're not rushing and slamming into things or fighting Blindheims, the ogres probably won't hear us. I am to roll again in 1 round on that reaction table. So we make it probably 40 feet. Maybe not even that much because we're traveling slowly with these blind companions. Ooh, that's not going to be good. 6. We hear growls in the distance, and I'm going to have a penalty on the next roll. There were 4 Blindheims in there. One of them we wounded. They have a lot of hit points. We are a good ways down here, so even if the Blindheims emerge, they're going to have to sprint to catch up with us, and we're going to have time to try to evade them, I think. We are, I believe, taking precautions enough that we will not be surprised. All right, so 1 more roll with that -4 penalty. 5. Monster is still aggressive. So we're still hearing the growls, sort of the threatening sounds from the north as we have made it to the south and we get to those double doors. We know we're going to cause problems when we open them. We tell our fighting party, we, as best we can, put their hands on these doors and tell everyone just give it a good shove because we've got to force stuck doors. And we do. We have a couple of successes in there. So those doors slam open, making all sorts of noise. We're sure that the ogres have heard us. We're sure that the Blindheims are now sprinting down the hall, and we are shoving our friends up these stairs. This is not the end of our problems, because when we get to the top, we will be on level 2 in a room really close to the Vilstrox. We go up 100 feet of stairs, find ourselves back on level 2 in this room, where we've got to cross through another sort of entrance room, and then the Vilstrox. So the 3 of us who can listen at doors, I mean, I guess we could all listen, but the 3 of us who can see where the door is, listen. Talira is fairly certain that if there's anything there, she hears it. She hears just the water trickling from above, which we'd heard before in this room. So we go through those doors and we listen again at that door with the Vilstrox. The Vilstrox are in this cave room here with all these rock outcroppings. There's something tricky with this door, so I've got to figure that out. 29, the door to area 28. Oh, okay. When I'm in this room, the door to the Vilstrox has a crossbar on it. So we set that. So when we don't hear anything, we're sure it's because that crossbar is still set. So when we go in this room here, sure enough, we find that crossbar. We've only been gone for like an hour or so. We are able to listen first and then take off that crossbar. If there's anything there, we hear it. There were 4 Vilstrox there before. Are the Vilstrox close enough for us to hear them? Usually I reroll a crack, but I'm going to take that as a yes and just say yes, we hear the Vilstrox, so we will not be surprised by them. When we kick in this door, we know we're just going to have to run for it straight up to this, and we're heading to the healing crystal. So again, we take up those stances where Zenith can go out very quickly right after Grebe and Talira guard the opening of the door, and then the rest of us are going to push those blinded members of the party through. Will the Vilstrox be surprised? Yes, actually the Vilstrox will be surprised by this, so this is great. This gives us a chance to evade. I'm going to flip to the evasion table. Yeah, our party size is 5 to 12. We're going to encounter 4 Vilstrox. We have a 50% chance of just total evasion. Not great enough odds. And we don't fully evade them. Okay, so we break into that room. The Vilstrox hear that door open up and hear us hurriedly running through. We have a couple of torches lit, I believe. How far away are those Vilstrox? Oh, great. They are 80 feet away. So in this tiny room, they're on the other side of it. Hearing the door open, they start running over to us, but we're able to make it up to that cave first and then head towards the healing crystal room. We would love to stop there for a minute. I'm going to roll a reaction for the Vilstrox. It's a 6. They are aggressive and growling, but they're not attacking. So they're probably trying to find us as we make it up to the healing crystal room. There's 3 entrances, so basically we're each going to take one. Zenith's going to take the one here where she can hopefully shoot arrows at the Vilstrox if they approach from this southwest angle. Although I don't think we've explored around the southeast angle, which is not great that we're exposed over there too. So Grebe's going to take that one. Talira's up at the top. Do we have an hour to spend here, or do we just run for it? You know, on one hand, if we spend an hour, if we spend 2 hours, although, again, we don't know it, but the blindness will leave the party members who have it. We feel calm in that area. I wish we had a way to fool the Vilstrox that we're not there. One of the funny things about playing a mega dungeon is trying to figure out, especially solo, is trying to figure out how much those monsters move around. Because the Vilstrox, because they're like rock creatures, they like that room that's full of rocks. That's their whole deal, is that they are camouflaged. Oh, good. There's actually a note in Gunderholfen. I'm glad I saw that. The Vilstrox will not pursue the PCs for more than 50 feet. And that room is about 60 feet away in either direction. So once we get to the healing crystal room, we wait a couple of rounds. We don't hear anything or see anything approaching. I will roll random encounters during this hour that we spend in there, or maybe more. We'll see if anything else comes to find us. I don't think my time tracker is in good shape at all, but it's about 10 p.m. because we went in at night. So we're going to spend an hour, and I'm going to roll a random encounter. There is none. So everyone heals 1 hit point. We're going to spend 1 more hour. Roll another encounter. And nothing. We are feeling rested and better off because of that, but just 2 hours is not enough to restore anyone to, like, you know, a real safe level of hit points. Virago goes up to 4. Lorque is at his max. Okay, maybe it's just Virago and Ballad who are a little worse for the wear. Ballad's up to 6. We're discussing how long we stay here. We know it's late at night, and Virago, just in typical tough mentality, says, if everyone else is good to go, I'm ready to go. Let's not dally in here. But Talira wants to be cautious and knows that this healing here is better than a night, you know, at their campsite. Not that any of them will get much sleep tonight. That's probably it. They're going to decide to book it outside, which is not a very easy thing to do. It's going to take them at least 3, I think it's going to be 4 rounds of them trying to get up there. So when they decide to move, they run and they get up to the mushroom room. I'm going to roll a random encounter. There is none. They choose that middle path again, and they get up to where the cave toads were, and they cross that, and I'll roll a random encounter right as they're in that water. They don't have one. So they're able to get over there to the wind trap. They throw the bag of cloth through, and they wait at those doors. Now they know they just have to book it, and they've got 4 blind people with them, so they're sort of pushing it there. Is this an evasion situation? I think so. That might be the fairest way to do it, is just to roll evasion here. There are only about 5 of these sturges left in their little nest that's up in the rafters here. So it's 50%. Here we go. We open those doors and we run for it and easily make it with 20. So we get across there, get to the stairs, and start going up the stairs, back to level 1. We've been this way so many times. We know it very well. We get to the top, and we're going to start moving out. Gonna roll a random encounter as we get up to here. We do have one. Okay, what do we have on level 1 in the Hobgoblin layer? I have been rolling out of the Beckme Rule Cyclopedia because the landscape has changed so much up here, because they've fought so much with the Hobgoblins. The Hobgoblins have kind of left level 1 in this area. That's right. That's why I was doing it, because the encounter table for this area was in the book is only Hobgoblins, and we know we're not going to encounter them. We have an encounter, dungeon level 1. It's a D20. A goblin. It kind of makes sense. There were 3 layers on level 1, and one was full of goblins, one was full of hobgoblins, one was full of kobolds. So one of those goblins has kind of wandered over here to check the situation on the hobgoblin side, knowing that things have shifted there. They are 90 feet away from us. Is either of us surprised? We are surprised only on a 1, and they are surprised as well. So we're both surprised. Okay, that's even and equal. And their reaction is that they are cautious. We have encountered them just as we've crossed the other bridge. They've sort of looked down here. They see us. Ooh, Zenith and Talira don't want to kill a goblin right now, but they also have that feeling of like this goblin sees them carrying their wounded. Would the goblins even travel down to the other layers? Do they need to be threatened by that at all? I think we're going to roll into initiative, and Zenith is going to fire off an arrow if she can. But the goblin gets to go first. Because it's cautious, I'm going to check that goblin's morale. That seems like a pretty fair way to do it. It's a single goblin. Actually, I was playing as though it's a single goblin, but I'm supposed to roll the number appearing, I believe. Number appearing of goblins is 2d8. That's crazy, because their numbers are very diminished as well. Let's say it's a d8. Okay, there are 3 goblins. That makes a little bit more sense. Not just 1, but 3 who are trying to inspect the hobgoblin layer. They see all of these humans and demi-humans crossing this bridge with several obviously like wounded or blinded companions in tow. They're unable to see exactly how many of us can see or not. And at 90 feet, they're probably like we've just heard them around this corner or something just as we're on the bridge. Like they're far northeast of us. Their reaction was caution. I'm going to roll morale to see if they run. It's a 7. I'm going to roll that crack. And I rolled a 7. If the result is greater than the morale score, not equal to or greater, but just greater. So the monsters, they just hang there, and they are cautious. They're watching us, probably trying to see which of us can see and who's moving normally. I had rolled initiative, and the goblins won it. They're staying in the fight. That was their morale roll. Will the goblins attack us? No. So the goblins don't attack in this round. They love a poorly defended group of humanoids, or humans, demi-humans. Talira sort of whispers to the others, let's just keep moving towards them. Don't let them know we're weakened. The others in the party kind of stand up straight. Those blinded try to act like they can see. Perhaps Blaine and Lorkay look like prisoners because Frank is holding them. Grebe could also order Frank to attack these goblins. I think that might be a kind of cool move. Yeah, so on our initiative, Grebe tells Frank, get him. Blaine and Lorkay, we guide them over to the side of the wall and we say we're just continue marching north, just so they can put a hand on the wall and kind of guide themselves north. And then Frank takes off running. These goblins are 90 feet away from us. Frank can cover that while running in 1 round. Actually, I think it takes a couple rounds to cover that. So Frank takes off running. Zenith lights an arrow and fire. Doesn't use one of those special +1 arrows that she has, but just fires it at them. Natural 20. That's fantastic. Doing 3 damage. This one goblin that she hits has 5 hit points. She takes 3 hit points from it with that natural 20. Do the goblins continue looky-looing? No. They take off running. That was their morale roll. I guess I could have rolled initiative. We would get to go first, and we would do the same thing. Zenith would fire another flaming arrow, another natural 20. Takes out one of the goblins entirely. So at this point, the goblins scream and they take off running on their turn. Frank is still running in pursuit of them, and the clay golem's attack is a hug, which I think is awesome. We make it to this north-south passage, and we are moving quite quickly up there. We're able to put our blinded companions' hands on this wall to the west, on the left side, and just say, just keep moving. Talira, Zenith, and Grebe that way can have both hands free and their eyes open watching for threats. is we get up to that room and we open the door. So Frank has sort of waited for us there as the goblins have run off somewhere. I don't think we would pursue them, even if they ran to the east. We just march out and we get outside. We go to our camp. It's late at night. It's almost midnight because our plan was to go in at night this time and just see if the landscape within the dungeon was a little bit different. So we camp out. Overnight, Virago and Ballad, who are the most hurt, will be allowed, of course, just to sleep and heal in peace. And the others take watch. We make sure nothing's coming. It'll be late morning when we rise. It is the 2nd of the month of Wolf, and we are camped out outside the Gunderholfen entrances. And I'm wondering what we do next. There's no real reason. Within an hour or so, not even an hour, we waited for 2 hours. The blindness was a little bit more than 2 hours. So sometime during the night, once we got to the camp, the blindness left those that were afflicted and they could see again. They were able to sleep with their anxiety reduced a little bit because of that. And we're going to take most of the morning continuing to rest just because we need to. We have a couple of options. We could go back to the goblin lair of Gunderholfen and search for that healing crystal cavern. We could go to the one on the 2nd level that we were just in. Anything to get a little bit more healing done, just to get truly Virago 1 more point or so. I think that's, with 2 more hours in the healing cave, Virago will be full of hit points and Ballad will be at 9 of 12. So not too bad. Yeah, we take our time and do this just like the experienced adventurers we are. We head back in later that morning and we go straight back down there. I'm going to roll 1 encounter as we go in. 1, we have another encounter. Okay. Goblins, again, D8 number of them. There are 8 this time. They're only 60 feet away from us. Really good chance one of us got surprised with that. I think that means neither of us is surprised, right? I'm having that dumb feeling that I have sometimes with BECME, where I realize I've been playing something and it may be a BX rule. Surprise is not in the combat sequence, it looks like. Now, maybe this is a case where it is put somewhere else. Oh, it's in the encounters. When an unexpected encounter occurs, both sides roll d6. Okay, so it's not part of the combat, but it's part of that initial encounter. 8 goblins, 60 feet away. This is probably in that same area because we're not traveling any other way. They're probably coming in somewhere from this northwest side because that's where the goblin connection was to the hobgoblin lair. And they're starting to figure out what's going on. The 2 survivors probably told their group about it and they sent out 8 this morning to patrol and just see what was interesting over here. Neither group is surprised. They're 60 feet away. Got to roll for a reaction. Those monsters are cautious again. Roll initiative, and they get to act. They're cautious, so they're probably not going to attack us, but they outnumber us this time. So this is a little scary. They are probably gripping their swords and morning stars, pieces of weaponry they've picked up in the hobgoblin lair. And we also, Talira and Zenith, will knock arrows in their bowstrings and sort of make a show of creaking those back, ready to fire. Grebe makes sure to brandish her sword so that maybe there's sort of this magic shimmer that they can see on that sword, although maybe they want that. And Ballad makes a show of drawing this large 2-handed sword, or at least gripping it in a way that they can see him sort of spoiling for a fight. But we do not attack and we don't move, so we remain 60 feet away. It will take us a round to get up into melee, a round of just moving to get up into melee. And they're going to roll again. Oh, this time they attack. So that was enough. They see our weapons. They want them. They think they got us outnumbered. They're going to charge in if they get the initiative, but we do. So we see them sort of pose for that attack and start to move to try to get the jump on us, but we get the initiative. Grebe shouts at Frank, "Get him." Talira and Zenith will fire arrows first. Talira's arrow, 5. It's going to miss. Zenith's arrow, 7. Is going to miss. Frank and everyone, all the melee fighters, take 1 round, getting up close enough to the goblins in that passage to fight them with melee. I think we're walking forcefully, but we're not making an effort to get there so that we can't attack. In other words, the goblins are going to have to spend their movement getting towards us. That's sort of how we want to do this. We just take a couple of offensive steps and we're ready for them, they're going to have to cross the rest of the way on their initiative. So that's exactly what happens. They come running at us. Next round, initiative goes to us. So we are right up there in that fight, except for our ranged combatants. So Talira misses with her arrow. Zenith, a 12. Nope, gonna miss. If I had specified that she was using one of the +1 arrows, she would have hit, but she does not. She misses. So Frank gets in there and tries to hug the biggest goblin. Does hit with that roll. I just had to look up Frank's actual 2-hit number, which is a 12. And Frank hugs this one goblin and does 2d6 damage. Ooh, and 2d6 every round thereafter. So just with that one hug, he takes out the goblin that he's hugged. Virago runs in and fights with their hands, not getting contact with this goblin that they've engaged with. Lorkay with their sword, misses very badly. Blaine with his warhammer, hits for 2 points of damage. Grebe with her +1. 9 is going to miss. And Ballad with his two-handed. 13 will hit, but he actually does that damage, 3. So in one round, we've taken out 3 of those goblins. It is their turn. They roll for morale, and they stay in the fight because they are dumb. Okay, we took down 3 of the goblins, and the remaining 5 are on us. With swords, so they're coming at Grebe. Will not hit Grebe. On Ballad, does hit Ballad for 5 points. That might be terrible. Ballad goes down to 2 hit points. Then on Blaine, won't hit. Lorkay, won't hit. That's 4 of them. I think they go after Virago. They look like the kind of weakest here. 12 is going to hit because Virago's a pretty high AC right now. So 2 points of damage to Virago. They are down to 3. Now feeling like we're going to have to spend the rest of the day in that healing cave. All right, initiative 1. The goblins get to go first. Their morale 8. They run. They get their licks in and they look around, see their dead companions, and they run because I'd specified we're in this hallway. They are running in the very direction that we need to go. So they go clattering across that wooden bridge. While they're still in range, Talira and Zenith will take shots at them. Talira takes one of them out easily. Zenith misses with their shot. The rest of us start charging after them. They spend their turn running. They kind of clatter through here across the wooden bridge into this room, and they see there's only one exit. They're running down that way. We know exactly what's ahead of them, and they don't. So Talira has run until she can get a good shot. Misses. And Zenith does hit. There's 3 goblins left. As they come running around here, they're going to see those stairs. I think they're just going to run down the stairs. I was imagining, is there a scene where they're cornered and they stop and give themselves up? But they just start running down those stairs. Survival is sort of the paramount instinct they've got right now. They start running down those stairs. We let them. Like, we slow up right there, and we want to go down as defensively as possible because we know if they linger in that room, those Sturges are going to get them. Will the goblins spend 2 rounds in that room? No. So the goblins hit that room on the 2nd level and just start running through it. They see the doors at the end of the room, and they start running. We creep cautiously down there. Did the goblins make so much noise that the Sturges have come out? No. Okay, good for us. We sort of pause there knowing we're going to have to run. Fairly sure that on the other side of those doors, those goblins were going to get hit by that wind trap. Okay, so the first goblin goes through there and hits this wind trap. Can save versus breath, and it does not. So it gets hit for 1 point of damage and thrown back 10 feet. The first one gets hit by this wind. When the second one goes, they get through. They didn't have to save versus breath. It's all in one round. First one gets hit, second and third make it through. So the first one has to try again, and this time the wind will kick up because it's another round. 16 saves, so it doesn't take any damage. Gets thrown back against the door, but then the wind dissipates, takes another run at it, and gets through. Okay, but that's 2 rounds for them to clear that, and we know we've got to get across here as quickly as possible. We come like slamming through those doors just as the goblins get through that. I think just because it would be cool, we're going to have a little melee fight right here as the wind kicks up every round. So we get through. That one has run through with the wind is dissipated. Talira fires an arrow and hits and kills it. So the one that just got through gets wiped out. Zenith fires at one of the others. Does not hit. And because they've made it through, we can't hit them with our melee. So the wind kicks up again. Goblins sprint to these doors. We throw that bag of clothes through there and run through the wind, after the wind dissipates. Initiative. We get to go first. Talira, another arrow, misses. Zenith, another arrow, hits for 4 points of damage, takes out one more goblin. The last remaining goblin is just screaming its head off as it gets through those doors, and it's going to find all the skulls and bones, rat bones, on the floor. So it is pretty freaked out. There's no need to roll for morale. This thing is just trying to get out of here. Runs through that door, finds this magic mouth, doesn't know what to do, runs through that crevice room, runs through the water. Are there giant toads in there? Encounter. Yes, there are cave toads in there. And how many are there? 4 cave toads have returned. Great. It's not good for us. We are cautious as we go through these rooms, just sort of slowly following, knowing that there's just one goblin. And we see it being absolutely destroyed by those cave toads in that room with the pool. So we will stand back as that's happening. They're usually hidden in the water, but they've come out to attack this goblin, so we have a chance. Talira fires an arrow, misses. Zenith fires an arrow, misses. Everyone with a sling is going to throw something in there. Virago is going to hit for 2 points of damage on a cave toad. It's not going to do much. Blaine will also hit for 2 points of damage. Grebe misses. Yeah. So the cave toads are preoccupied with this goblin and getting pelted by our slings and arrows. We're going to roll initiative again. 6. We get to go again. So Talira, 16, is going to hit a cave toad for 3 points of damage. They're not easy enough to wipe out that way, but anything helps. Zenith, 7, misses. Virago, sling, misses. Blaine, sling, very much misses. Grebe, sling, hits for 1 point of damage. I think Ballad and Lorkay are just going to step in there. Ballad goes in, swings with his sword. 18, 3 points of damage. Lorkay goes in, swings with his sword, misses. Cave toads go now. How many of these cave toads are dealing with the goblin? 1. So 3 cave toads will attack us. Come after Ballad, he's up close, miss. Come after Lorkay, because he's up close, miss. Third will go after Blaine. Well, everybody else is kind of back. I don't think there's anybody else to hit, so it's going to go after Ballad again. Oh, crap. 15 is going to hit. Ballad goes down. We see Ballad just fall into the water from a hit from one of these cave toads. It whips with its giant tongue. Blaine, on our initiative, will run in there. We do get initiative. So Blaine runs in with possibly our last health potion. It is indeed our last health potion. Blaine spins it, and Ballad pops up with 4 points. All right, Talira hits one of them for 4 points. Zenith hits one of them for 6 points. That takes out one of those toads. Lorkay sees Ballad as sort of a mentor in this, misses again horribly. Virago, sling, misses. Grebe, sling, hits, 4 points of damage. That's great. Takes out a second one. So there are 2 remaining cave toads. We roll for initiative. 1. The cave toads go first. Lorkay, Blaine, and Ballad are now all thrashing around in that water, so it's going to go after Blaine. 13 will not hit. Needed 1 more point. The second one, is it still involved with the goblin? No. Okay. It ignores this goblin body to come after us and misses. So then Talira, arrow, misses. Zenith, arrow, misses. Virago, sling, misses by 1 point. Grebe hits, does 2 points of damage with her sling. Ballad can't fight. Blaine is going to be dragging Ballad away. Lorkay's right up in there. Misses. Okay, initiative. We go first again. Talira, arrow, misses. Zenith, arrow, hits for 1 point of damage. Virago, misses. Grebe, hits for 1 point of damage. This is going to take forever. Lorkay finally hits for 3 points of damage. Doesn't take out a toad, but feels real good about it. Blaine, having pulled Ballad out of the way, swings his warhammer and misses. The toads, after Blaine. Oh, that's going to hit. And it does 5 points of damage. Blaine is getting whipped around by this long tongue of this cave toad. And the next one comes after Lorkay. Will miss. Initiative. They go. Do the toads stay in this fight? 10. I'm pretty sure they're going to run with that. Yep. They both go hopping out of this room. There's pretty much nowhere to go, so they're just hopping. Do they go left, 1 through 3, or right? So they go right. So they start heading down this way, where we know there to be Gorbals, or whatever those weird rubbery creatures were that explode on contact. So there might be a little fight between Gorbals and cave toads going on. It's none of our business. We prioritize getting our wounded down here. We're questioning with each step of the way where we go, but we prioritize speed and get to that healing room. What we're questioning is, should we even be in here? We spend an hour there. Is there an encounter? No. We spend another hour here. Is there an encounter? No. And we're talking about our plan. Like, where are we going after this? Blaine tells them that we are out of healing potions. He has cure light wounds for the day, but says if any of us drops, we're going to have to get out of here. So we need to make sure we are safe. And they consult their map for level 3. Like, where could any sort of stairwell out of here be? Like, how do they get to level 4? They haven't found any treasure, anything worth dealing with. They see Frank as a real asset, so they kind of want to go down these stairs, but they know they could backtrack and take that ladder down and sort of follow the path they're more familiar with. There weren't any ogres there, but they know there were those hairy Keegoth creatures all around. And of course the giant rats. All of this in pencil we have not explored yet. I just had to map it in to get my bearings on everything. Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do. We also hate the idea of going through that Vilstrock room. And we're right there in the healing crystals. Are we going to spend a third hour here? Let's say it is like lunchtime. You know, it's midday. We spend a third hour. We are getting some cabin fever, but we know it's better to stay here and eat and talk about our strategy before we subject ourselves to these dangers. No encounters. Yeah, so we're here in the healing crystal room. Does the party want to return to the ladder, or do they want to use these stairs? I gotta ask that in a way I can get an answer on a die. I'm gonna say, just gonna ask the simple question, do we want to return and use the ladder? No. We decide to go for those stairs. We're closer to them. We're in the room with the healing crystals. We've been here for 3 hours now. It's early afternoon. We haven't seen a sign of the Vilstrocks, so we're thinking maybe it's easy to get there. We do what we did yesterday, and we get to the entrance to this cave, and because Lorkay has infravision, we put him in front, and we tell Lorkay, like, cling to this side of the wall. We know where that door is, and we move for it. Are there Vilstrock in this room right now? Yes. How far away are they? 90 feet. So again, they're sort of monitoring the other corner over here, and we can dash across there and get through that door pretty quickly. Once we go through that door, we bar it with the crossbar in there, and we go over to the stairs and head down to level 3. So we go down those stairs, and we know we've got the heavy doors in front of us, but we haven't explored the left or right. So that's what we're going to do. We're deciding, like, do we go to double doors on the left or double doors on the right, i.e. west and east. 1 through 3, we're going to go west. 4 through 6, we go east. So we head to those doors, and we're going to listen. That's going to be the main party, and Talira and one other person are successful if there's anything to be heard there. Oh, great. This is not even keyed on the map. This room that we're about to walk into is just blank. It is about 35 feet east to west. So we cautiously open those doors. After being fairly certain that there's nothing there, we don't hear anything, and we see another set of double doors. So we're going to listen there. And again, we have a couple of successes. Pretty sure we don't hear anything in there, so we open those doors cautiously, and we see a pool of water in a room that's about 40 feet by 50 feet. This water is murky. We don't see anything else around here, and there's just kind of a vegetable matter smell to this room. There's mud and slime in the pool and the murky water. We can't see a bottom to it. We have long precedent of not exploring gross things like this, so we're going to listen at those doors to the north. Kind of consulting our map, pretty sure like this might connect to that long north-south passage we'd found before. Again, a couple successes. We don't hear anything, so we cautiously open those doors. We are trying our best not to make any noise here. And this hall does resemble that long passage we had seen before. The makeup of it, it just looks like where we fought Vilstrock and giant rats at the other end of it. So we think we've found this connection, and we're mapping this, the characters are, so they're able to start putting this together. We see a door right to the east, about 20 feet in. Our torchlight can illuminate that, so we listen at that door. Again, we're pretty certain that if there's anything there, we hear it. There's sort of a shuffling sound in there, like it could be animals or other creatures, but it doesn't sound aggressive. It doesn't sound really large. Are we going to open this door? I rolled a no, but I don't think that's fair. I think we know we've got to open doors at this point. So we cautiously open that door, and we find a room that's about 25 feet square. This room is carpeted with large orange toadstools and mushrooms. As I've mentioned before, we have overall pretty favorable interactions with toadstools and mushrooms. So we're not too concerned about a room full of them. That's okay to us. However, the adventurer tells me that there is a creature lurking in the back of the room concealed by the mushrooms, who is using psionic powers to cause dissension in the group. So once we've all kind of crowded in here, Talira and Virago start arguing about where to go next. And it just seems to be like an argument for the sole purpose of having an argument. One of them saying we should go south, and the other saying we should just retrace our steps and go back the way we came. This becomes very heated, and the other party members start joining in no, why are we even having this discussion? This is stupid. We've got to go north. That's the way that we've been mapping. And no, that we know what's north. We've been in this hallway before. Let's go south. This argument is going on. This creature that's in the room will only attack if discovered. Are we going to search this room while this is going on? No. So this fight consumes us. We kind of look around. We don't see anything else here. We're going to get out, which is too bad because there's treasure in there. I'll say that actually, as soon as we get out of there, the argument just seems settled and moot, and everyone agrees we're heading north. It's like they never had an argument, so they don't really understand what they were feeling in that room. They know they're headed north. There is a hallway that is very visible to the east, and then they can see once they get there, their torchlight will illuminate a door to the west over here. So 1 through 3, we go to the hallway. 4 through 6, we go to that door first. We want to check that out, make sure we're not going to get ambushed. We know that Jedri, the were-rat we fought, had a partner, so we're very concerned. We listen at that door. We're sure that if there's anything to be heard, we hear it. And there is a creature in there, but I don't think they would hear it. We walk in, our torches are illuminating. We see that there's a high-ceilinged room here with mauve stone walls. The ceiling is 25 feet high, and there's a dark creeper in this room. It's a humanoid, slightly built creature about the same height as a dwarf. I think it's just hiding in the corner. Members of the race always dress in somber, dark-colored clothing, concealing as much of their pallid skin as possible. They detest light and dwell deep underground. The tactics in Gunderholfen say that the dark creeper will try to cast darkness and then steal items. I think it's more like it will cast darkness and then try to steal items. I think darkness is going to go off without a hitch. We walk in and see this dwarf-sized creature sort of trying to hide in the shadows, but the room is so small, our torchlight illuminates everything here. So we see it. Okay, because we listened and didn't hear anything, I don't think we're going to be instantly surprised when we see this dark creeper. I think we need to roll for surprise. Neither of us is surprised. So the dark creeper, I'm going to roll initiative to see if it casts darkness. We get to move first. So we just sort of see it and try to make it known that we are not going to harm it, but it can see we have these weapons, and then on its turn, I don't know if the initiative mattered, the Dark Creeper is going to cast Darkness, which just creates a circle of darkness 30 feet in diameter, so it covers this whole room and probably all the way up to the ceiling, and that's its turn. It casts Darkness because that takes its whole turn. I don't see anything. I'm quickly reading, but I don't see anything that limits. Oh, here it is. The Creeper has the innate power to create darkness 3 times a day. So the Dark Creeper casts Darkness. Our torches are meaningless, and Lorkay cannot see in this darkness. This is where initiative matters, because the Creeper gets to go first, and it will run over to probably the weakest one, to Lyra, who's carrying that +1 dagger, and try to steal it. It has the abilities of a 4th level thief. Okay, that's pretty helpful. So it has a 35% chance of a pickpockets. So it comes over to Lyra and is not successful at picking her pocket. And on our turn, we all recognize that some magical thing happened. So Blaine casts light, and this cancels out the darkness. The Creeper is totally surprised by this and basically offended that this magical light would take over their darkness. So I'm going to roll initiative. The Creeper gets to go first. I'm going to roll morale on the Creeper. AD&D morale confuses me every time, but I believe that it will flee. But before it does that, it casts darkness again. So we're sort of stranded there in the dark, and I'm unclear if Blaine can cast light again. I'm going to look that up. Yeah, so as I understand it, Blaine can memorize 2 spells per day at level 3. And because he has memorized light and cure light wounds, he has not memorized light twice. So basically, once he's cast it, it's gone. And I think what I'm not doing from the cleric is I believe the cleric has access to all the clerical spells. So I could be memorizing any of them, but I've just assigned Blaine 2 spells. The Creeper casts darkness again, but it doesn't want to press its luck. And there's 7 people and a clay golem in this room. So it casts darkness the second time, and then we hear that door open and shut behind us. And Blaine sort of curses and opens the door, and through the darkness, they're able to fumble around and get out that door. So from there, with our torches, we just decide, let's go to that hallway. We follow it around, and I'm going to roll an encounter only because Tiali might have ducked back in here. Well, what do you know? Tiali is back in here. Oh no, this is not Tiali's lair. I think Tiali's back in the lair of the were-rats, which is where we were before. So we go through here. We do have an encounter. I'm going to roll that up. Keegots, again. 2 of them. So as we go around that corner, we see 2 of those Keegots. Is either of us surprised? Yes, the Keegots are surprised. So because they're surprised, we are going to evade them. And we're going to run back around here. We're pretty sure that, well, I don't think that we know yet that this hallway will reconnect with itself. So we run back around this corner and start heading north again. At least that's our intention. Feels a little weird to roll an evasion on this, but I understand the thinking. Like 2 Keegots can certainly pick up on a party of 7 humans, demi-humans, and a clay golem. So we are not able to evade them. We use our movement to come around that corner. The Keegots appear at the northern corner, having heard us, like where we went. And so we're staring at them down this main hallway, just like a round later. I'm going to roll that reaction from the Keegots. They are still cautious. Or no, sorry, that's aggressive. 6. They are aggressive. They growl and bare their teeth. They're definitely trying to tell us that we are in the wrong place. There's only 2 of them. We tell Ballad and anyone else who's wounded, sit this one out. And we're going to tell Frank to rush in there. I'm going to roll for initiative. 4. We get to go first. So Grebe tells Frank, get him. And the rest of us will take up our attack poses. So Frank is going to have to use his movement to move in their direction. Talira and Zenith are going to fire arrows at a distance. Talira does not hit that first arrow. Zenith does hit with her first arrow, doing 2 points of damage. Virago, Lorkay, Blaine, Grebe, Bala, basically everyone except Frank. We don't want to charge up there. We want the Keegots to come to us. So we stand our ground right in front of this passage. The Creeper is out here too, somewhere. That Creeper has ducked inside somewhere around here and will hide out until it's able to come out and steal from us because it can sense that magic dagger, wants that magic dagger. It's very motivated by that. But we're going to stand our ground, I guess, at that point and let the Kegoths come to us. So they're aggressive. We've attacked. They're just going to charge in. They've got a claw bite, but the bite is only if both claws hit. They're going to spend their movement running at us, and I'm going to roll for initiative. So this is one of the places where this like initiative every round is pretty cool. As the next round comes up, the initiative can change the tactical posturing you're doing. Okay, so Talira misses terribly. Zenith hits greatly and takes down one of those Kegoths. So one of them just gets an arrow right between the eyes and just drops. They are now within melee range, so Grebe steps up with that magic sword and misses terribly. Ballot is just itching to jump in here, but he is protected and back behind everyone. Virago, with their hands, misses. Lorkay, their sword will hit. I need to roll a d8. 1. Come on, Lorkay. Blaine, the Warhammer, misses. So we're all stepping up and taking swings and missing on the Kegoth's turn. Will it run away? Again, confused by this, but 68. No, I think it stays because it... No, I gotta beat it. Okay, I'm overthinking this. It's just a number that I beat. I beat it. The Kegoth failed its morale. It runs. So the Kegoth starts running. It only has one way to go, which is north. Talira and Zenith are going to take pot shots at it. So Talira misses again. Zenith does hit for 6 points of damage, and that Kegoth drops right there. This has been a lot of action for the party today. We really hate this, but we wander up to inspect that body. They're not carrying anything, these Kegoths. And we decide while we're up here, we're just going to peek down this hallway to the west. There's a hallway of about 30 feet and then a small room 20 by 20 feet, and it is blackened. The floor of this room is covered in burnt wood and ash. The walls are blackened by fire, but that's all we find. And we don't have a real safe way to proceed at this point. We realize, like, if we keep going, we've been through these rooms, and we're just going to end up at that area we haven't explored where we heard a lot of Kegoth voices. And if we go south, we're going to be back in that main hallway. Oh, no, we do have these other double doors. So that's what we do. We head back down here and go through those double doors where we will listen again. So that is where I'm going to end the session. The party is going to go south down the hall, through the room with the pool, back into the room with the stairwell, intending to go through those doors to the west in the next session.